the back, the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers, episode 807, Alien Romuli.
Alien 12 or whatever.
Whatever they're on. Do we count the Aliens versus Predator?
You can.
I never, in all the rankings coming out recently, people are, and I go, oh, I would have never thought to put those in the official rankings.
So they include Freddy versus Jason in both franchises?
Yeah, I guess they
Well,
are
that makes
technically,
sense,
but
Alien, you could include Alien and Predator in
I guess
both
they
franchises.
are, but I never
feel like
think
you
of
don't
that.
need to include them in a ranking because everybody knows they're the last two.
Right, it's just
sure.
right.
It's like,
Well,
but even if you know nothing about Alien, you know that those two movies suck.
AVP 2 is the lowest.
They're-
I would watch AVP 1 over Alien Resurrection any day of the week.
Okay.
Interesting.
I haven't seen
Okay.
either of them,
Oh,
but-
boy.
So anyway, let's go around the table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe.
This is Kevin.
And this is Tom. And joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is David Rosen from the Piecing It Together podcast. Hey, David, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me, you guys.
Yeah, welcome back. It's been a
Oh,
minute.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. We can't even remember what the last time was.
Was it like a
'cause we know
Godzilla movie or
I've been
something?
here before, but I don't know what it was.
Yeah,
so.
it's been hundreds of episodes.
That's the story
probably.
of my life.
Oh, yeah.
I've been here before, but I don't remember why.
He was here when we did our Krull episode. That's how long ago it was.
We've recorded so many episodes, over 800 now, that seriously, I am having trouble remembering which ones I've been on because
We
it's
know. So we no, we did that. We did that one.
But
Kevin. He's
seriously,
like, no, I
episode
didn't.
100 or 200, I mean, we're talking over a decade.
Uh-huh.
It's hard to, I don't know, for me at
It's
least.
funny when there are movies I don't remember having seen, but we've recorded episodes
Sure.
for them.
I've had that happen to me too.
Yeah, I've talked about this movie for an hour and I have no recollection.
You spend more time, energy thinking about talking about it than the actual movie.
Yeah, there's been a few of those.
For sure. So before we dig in, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. That's super helpful and greatly appreciated. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. It is called the League of Show Sharers because we are hoping you will share an episode. People who were kind enough to share an episode last week include Librarian Cynthia, Tammy Lynn Powers Betts, Jeff Wildman, Brendan McGuckin, Ralph Tribble, Tom Dowdy, Chris Falls, Travis Tewitt, Julianne Jordan, Richard Krotzer, Chris Magic Man, Gabriel Lugo, Taylor Ward, Brent Smith, Heather Sachs, Edit Photo Gamer, David Rojas, Colby Mack, Spoiler Piece Theater, Mike and Oscar, Nostalgia Cast, Ryan Terry, Ronnie Castle, Binge Movies, Geek to Me Radio, Matt Niglia, and In Session Film. So thank you very much. We definitely appreciate you guys sharing an episode, helping us get the word out there. If you love the show and you want to support it, we want you to. And even if you don't love the show and you don't want to support it, we still want you to.
Yeah, correct.
Just to be clear.
What if you don't love the show, but you want to support it?
That we would also love that.
Okay.
Whatever gets us your $5.
$5.
So for $5 a month over at patreon.com/Real Spoilers, you can get all sorts of bonus content, extra Matt Bassler.
Yeah.
And we like you extra. So anyway, and YouTube. You can watch all these over on YouTube at youtube.com/@ampersand Real Spoilers. So there's all that.
Unlat.
Let's dig in to Alien versus
Nope.
No.
Romulus.
Yes.
Hey,
Or
this is the
Remus.
one I thought you'd get right on the second time. You messed up the second one? Jeez. If that's
I like to keep it fresh.
Sure.
807 episodes. That's when we start changing things up.
Yeah, we are going to change the format completely.
For
We've already
sure.
done that 7 times, 12,
We're
14
book club
times.
now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This is an interesting franchise. I think they come out swinging for the fences and hit 2 grand slams back to back.
and then have been milking it
Yes.
for 40
Yes.
years.
Well,
Yes.
but here's
I agree with
here's
you
the thing
100%.
though. But they created such a great world of Alien. Like Ridley Scott created this great idea with a lot to say and cool practical effects and all this stuff. And I think going to this world for different stories. I mean, you've got hundreds of years in between
Yeah.
the movies that we've seen, and this movie is a spin-off. This is like a Hobbs and Shaw. This is
Kind
in
of,
between
yeah.
Alien and Aliens with a different crew, right? So like you can tell Alien stories without. Because the thing is, you try to get the original people back, or they're too old. It just
I think
doesn't.
Sigourney Weaver had some sort of creative control. I think like they couldn't do an Alien movie without her.
Well, I think they felt like it just wouldn't have a box office appeal, and then
Yeah.
they had to like back up a truck full of money.
Then they killed her in the spoilers.
Yeah.
They kill her in the third one, and then they're like, we want to make another one.
Yeah.
You're a clone now.
And I
Like,
and I think like the deeper it gets, the more creative control she has because
Yeah.
they realize that she's really the only recognizable
office draw.
face
Yeah.
Sure.
of the franchise.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
actually,
the fun thing about this franchise is that every time out we get different voices, different directors and
Sure,
writers
sure.
that are like putting their spin on it. And when it comes back to Ridley Scott and he gets to like kind of like dig further into it, it just gets weirder and weirder.
gets
And that's
so
why
weird.
I really love the prequels so much. but
I love Prometheus. I'm not a big fan
Yeah.
of Covenant, but I love Prometheus.
I just rewatched. So I watched Alien, and then Bella and I watched Aliens, and she was like, "That's the scariest thing I've ever seen."
She thinks Aliens is scarier
well,
than Alien.
I think so.
So she didn't watch Alien.
Okay.
Because I was like, maybe that's. I even said that's a little too much. But I rewatched those two. There's actually a very funny part in Aliens where you see the chest burster for the first time, and Bella turns her head, and I said to her, "I'll tell you when it's over." She thought I said it's over, and she turned and looked at it, and like as it's bursting out of this person's chest, and she looked at me and she goes, "You lying bitch." And I was like, that.
She said that to
Yeah,
you?
yeah. So like just the look on her face, she's like, "I can't believe you let me look at that." But I just rewatched those two, and then I did watch Prometheus, and I remember feeling kind of indifferent about that. But after this rewatch, I was like, "Oh, that is kind of a good movie." Like it's
Prometheus?
yeah, it's
I
pretty
love
good.
Prometheus. I think
pretty
it's
good.
so freaking good.
It's
and
great.
and we talk about movies that are like backdoor sequels or prequels. We
How
talked
did-
about
you
with
think that's like you think
Cloverfield.
that's a backdoor?
Well, when
We
it
didn't
came
know
out,
that it was an
not
Alien movie.
imaged as an Alien movie, and then you get
Oh, is
in
that
the
right?
theater, you see at the end
when you get
that
to
it's
the
an Alien
end, they're
movie.
like, "Surprise! It's a
Oh.
xenomorph," and
like Cloverfield does. It's the same.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
I
Or
love it.
split.
Yeah, right, with the Unbreakable tie-in, right? So like I love it when movies do that. But yeah, Prometheus is weird and it explores new things, but it manages to tie it in. Covenant I have not seen since I
It's
think
fine.
we reviewed. I did not like it.
It's nothing. It's not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
Like it's just an Alien movie.
Well, to
Well,
talk about not
Covenant
reinventing
is
the wheel.
great. I will be the defender of Covenant on this podcast.
That's his number
because-
one, right?
Because it takes the insane sci-fi ideas of Prometheus and runs with them, and I think Ridley Scott crafted between those two movies, and hopefully he gets to do a third one day, but I doubt it. But the darkest, most just awful view of the universe that has ever been put on film, and I love it for that. I just think it is so beautifully bleak and nihilistic.
It is true when we see what David like. So at the end of Prometheus, for those that haven't seen it, you've got I almost said Elizabeth Salander. That's her character from. It's Numi Rapace, but
Well,
she
it's
plays
Lisbeth
Lisbeth
Salander, if you're gonna-
Salander. Yeah. She's like she survives. We know that she survives, and she's your hero of that movie. Then when you see her in Covenant, and you're like, oh, David, not our guest on the podcast, Michael Fassbender's android character, like used her for like biological experiments. So like half of her jaw is gone and her stomach is ripped open, and you're just like, holy.
That's the thing. The androids are not good in these movies. If you've
Bishop's
learned
good.
anything, well, okay, but
Cars good.
Well, but a lot of the androids working for the company are programmed
Just
to.
the one that's from one.
And to bring it to Romulus, that's what's interesting. I think the most interesting part of Romulus is that we have kind of a good-natured, sympathetic android.
Yeah,
for the first
yeah.
time.
I thought that when I saw him when he finds out. Well, you know, we'll just get into it. When that android finds out that he can't go to the planet where the girl from Civil War is going, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, he's gonna turn. Like there's gonna be like a flip of a switch, and he's gonna be the.
But he only turned because they changed his software.
Correct.
He
It
got a
wasn't
new-
him.
He
Yes,
got a
he
new
was
SIM card.
He was okay with it until they put what is that actor's name?
Oh, Ian Holm.
Ian
yeah,
Holmes
yeah.
like chip inside of him, and they
Like,
were,
you know that's not Ash, right?
yeah, it's Rook,
Rook, yeah.
but it's the same model as
yeah,
Ash from,
right.
from
it's,
one.
it's like an R2 unit or
Yes,
something, how they all
yes.
look the same.
and
but,
this is one of my
That's
complaints about.
offensive.
well, look at the R2 units.
Yeah,
Oh.
this is
We have this mold. We have these parts laying around.
I don't have time to make everything look
no,
different.
come on. That was one of my complaints about this movie. Is I
That's
was
my number one
I was
complaint.
fine with
It's
having
definitely
it.
the number one.
It's the CG on his face is awful.
It's just not. People on the internet doing Tom Cruise deepfakes do a better job.
Yeah.
than- why are they not hiring these YouTubers?
I don't understand.
Because it takes you out of it, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
this movie, I had such a fun time with it. I think the special effects are great. Yes, it's a kind of a retread. It's like a soft reboot.
Sort of,
This
yeah.
is like the Force Awakens of Alien, right? You're
could see that,
playing the
yeah.
greatest hits, but then they get to him, and it's like, okay, I get wanting to do fan service, but you know what? Cast someone that looks like him or something. I'm just
Or-
so sick of the CG.
What I liked is they kind of, when you see him face down, the android face down for the first time, if you've seen Alien, you know that like the outfit that he's wearing,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like that's a good
and they
Easter
don't,
egg.
you
and
know,
don't
when they
have to
don't
see
show his face, that you're like, oh, that's him. And so I kind of figured we were getting something, but yeah, just they gotta fix this CG
Yeah,
if they're
yeah.
gonna use
but
it.
who
'cause-
gets paid for that? Because this actor's been dead for like 4
It's
years.
got to be his
His
like,
estate?
estate,
Do
right?
they
Yeah,
have
I
to,
don't
like-
know who gets paid, but the estate did sign off on it. But
they?
I've been saying this all over Twitter for like the last 3 days now. But if we're going to retread Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, all of the Alien movies in this, it should have just been David. They should
Yeah,
have just
I
wrote it
totally
that
agree
way.
with you.
Right,
I
if it-
totally agree
If
with
it's in
you.
the same universe, I agree. Like I was thinking the same thing. If you're going to tie in and you need an android or a synthetic, get Michael Fassbender, who is still around, and
Especially if
still
you're going to
looks the
tie-
same.
costs a lot more money.
That is also true.
But,
That's true.
You know, he does a lot of like indie stuff. Fassbender hasn't
But-
really been doing
Okay,
a lot of.
but when you do an indie movie, you take the pay cut because you know you're doing an
Yeah.
indie movie.
If
you're
You
getting-
don't take the pay cut for an Alien
Aliens.
sequel.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like,
okay.
You're like Alien sequels pay for the indie movies.
Yeah, right.
Right?
I
like
know.
it's like I'm not gonna do 20th Century Fox as solid.
No,
Them pay me.
20th century film.
but,
Yeah,
but if he's
whatever.
if it's just, I guess he's in it on the
Hillbillies
videos.
want to be called people of the soil.
I will say when
Oh, so good.
when not Ash is on the TV screens and stuff, it's like fine.
That looks
Right?
that looks
because
pretty good.
You
Yeah.
can make it look, you know,
Yeah.
fuzzy and whatever. But yeah, that I would have to say.
They
that's-
maxed headroom did.
They
Yeah.
did. They absolutely
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
So it
Although
took-
funnily that's a
Funnily?
word. Interesting.
Trademarked.
Max Headroom was not digital. Like that was
Yeah.
So it was like
that was
practical.
makeup
That was-
and
yeah.
all practical
Yeah.
and
Wasn't
to
that
make
Matt-
it look like digital.
Matt Frewer.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still. I mean, he was in Orphan Black. He's still out there.
He
slugging
was
away.
in Dawn of the Zack
been-
Snyder Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
tons of stuff.
and the creators of Max Headroom directed Super Mario Brothers, the movie.
Hell yeah.
What? Oh,
That's them.
you
the,
mean the John Leguizamo movie?
yeah, the good one. Yeah.
Okay, let's.
So
pump the
moving on, we got to
brakes.
talk about Alien.
Moving
Joe.
on, yeah.
I just
What-
want to state
so-
there is no good one. Go on.
The-
Oh.
I will say if you watch those movies, all of the androids.
The Super Mario.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Nobody watched that.
Wow.
Well, based on box office,
That's true.
I'm gonna have to say somebody
watched it. Yeah. The androids have always been. So it was Ash in one, Bishop
What
in
A, B, C.
D with David, and this is where they flipped it. Like this guy was an A name, and I was like, well, that's an easy fix. Just call him Ed or something. But I don't know why.
Well, this takes place between A and B movies.
I guess that's true. It
So
does take
he's-
place between
Good
A and
He's
B.
lowercase c.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoy. I think Fede Alvarez needs to be talked about a little bit.
Yeah, we should say the director of the Evil Dead reboot made this movie.
Yeah, but he also he has a very interesting career. I've said this on Twitter. So he comes out of the gates with the Evil Dead reboot, or I guess the remake, and that is pretty much critically loved.
Well, it's
Like,
a reboot. A remake would be taking the same one.
I
and
guess that's true. I
it's
guess
a
it is a
reboot.
reboot.
Yeah.
And then he follows that up with Don't Breathe, which I think we also covered on this podcast, which was.
I cannot think of anything else but the turkey baster when.
It's. I mean,
I think
that's
of that
Jane
movie.
Levy in the trying to.
Oh,
Get
it's
away
not that
from
I can't
Scott.
remember it. I'm saying
I mean,
I cannot. When I hear "Don't Breathe," that is the only imagery. I'm like,
And you think he's the good guy, and you're like, oh no.
Oh,
And
he
you know when
is in the
people talk
sequel.
about there aren't enough Thanksgiving movies, here
true.
you go.
That's
oh,
true.
jeez.
Then he does the girl in the
Spider's Web.
Spider's Web, which is a sequel to the David Fincher Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, but they don't bring any of the actors back for that one.
Isn't that like the fourth book that he died in the middle of
I
writing?
think it's one of the books he didn't write.
So it's not really a
Oh.
direct sequel because
Yeah.
the first
Continuation of
book
the
is the first
characters, I
movie,
guess.
and this is like the fourth
Yeah,
book
okay.
or whatever.
So it's like Claire Foy is Lisbeth, and then somebody else. It's not Daniel Craig. They get for Bloomquist. And he was gonna do the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Netflix thing, and
And I
he
was
was
like, hopefully you mean the movie.
"Yep, no, he
Yeah,
was gonna
'cause
do
I-
the real thing."
I would hate to think he's going on a killing spree.
Well, trying to get out of the contract for doing that movie,
Yeah.
he may have.
Mm-hmm.
So he's done these 3 movies. Like, I don't think he's directed anything else besides maybe some short films. And he's built this.
I believe they prefer to be called little films.
I'm sorry.
but
You're
go
right.
on.
You're right. I can't say the M word either. That's bad. He's built like this very interesting level of goodwill with a certain audience.
yeah.
And
I
when they
mean, Evil
announced
Dead
him-
and Don't Breathe were solid.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Actually, The Girl in the Spider's Web is not a bad movie.
I don't
It's just
remember it being
very
bad,
different.
but I just thought it was kind of forgettable. And
It is.
The Fincher movie's so
Right.
good, and I think Fincher wanted to make sequels, and they
It
I guess
didn't make. It wasn't a hit.
yeah.
Well,
And-
they put a bunch of money in that movie.
Yeah,
They
They
Well-
thought
to.
they. I mean, and I get why they thought it, but
right.
the pedigree makes sense.
But
Yeah.
that the original Swedish films are really good, and I thought that Fincher did a great job with the
Oh, yeah.
remake. I thought it was on the level of like Let Me In and Let the Right One In.
Yeah.
You know, like it was a really solid
it
remake.
was a really fast turnaround. I think
know-
that's what hurt it.
yeah.
Is there's
Daniel
a-
Craig was great casting in that.
I love that he said, "I put on all that muscle for James Bond," and then when he got cast in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, they're like, "We need
Put
you
a
to,
sweater on.
We need you to drop like 60 pounds." And he's like, "God dang it! Like I just got
Now you
the
gotta do
best
another
shape of my
James
life."
Bond.
Yeah, right.
do that thing you did with Chris Evans for Steve Rogers.
Can you just
Like,
CG it, please?
Yeah.
So when he's announced that he's doing this, it's like, okay, like you've made 2 really good, like tension-filled horror movies.
Yeah. Well. I mean, this is a perfect combination of Evil Dead and Don't Breathe, right? You have
Yeah.
Don't Breathe. You have the sneaking around and the suspense and everything. You have the gore with Evil Dead.
This is the Doctor Sleep of Alien and Aliens.
Yeah.
Like it's a perfect to me, I don't think it's perfect, but it's a very good combination of Alien, the tone of Alien and Aliens.
I think this is one of the best Alien movies out there. I think it's excellent. It's a little too much of a retread. Again, it's like the greatest hits, but I had fun seeing it. And the look of this movie,
That's
God, this movie
looks incredible.
It looks just like the first one, like the set design and the way it's filmed, the dark but detailed, and of course the amazing effects. It like this movie feels like even though the other ones are real alien movies or whatnot, but you know what I mean? But you watch this and you're like, that is what an alien movie looks like.
Yeah,
he
the-
somehow recaptured the look.
the CG
perfectly.
on the alien on the xenomorph, the way it moves, the way you know, in those first 2 movies, they're people in suits or there's like animatronics and
Yeah,
stuff.
he invented xenomorphs. for
Correct.
this.
Yeah, that's right.
David, do we know how much practical effects were used in this movie? Have you looked into that?
Well, I don't know exactly, but I do know that he was insistent on using a lot of practical
Because
effects.
it shows, right? Like that's the
Yeah.
thing is you can tell they use a lot in this movie, and that's what helps is practical effects hold up. You go back and watch
Yeah.
those movies. I mean,
Oh,
Joe,
yeah.
I mean, I know you're a huge,
love
so it's like even though those movies are older, but like they still stand the test of time. Where all the 2000s CG crap is
bad.
going to look so
Right.
bad.
Go back
forever,
and watch Alien Resurrection, and it's like,
It's a
good
shame.
Lord,
It's
it
so-
is so bad.
I know it's
Makes a
cheaper and
difference.
quicker and all that, but I mean, you're gonna have movies that are just gonna look awful and
Yeah.
a decade later, right? And so this movie's another one that I think you'll watch Alien, you'll watch this one, and it will seamlessly move right into it, and it feels like it's in the same universe. But again,
Yeah,
I
and-
love that you can tell a different story in the same universe, right?
Yeah.
And you could keep doing that, and you don't have to get Sigourney Weaver back. You don't have to get the same people back. Like, just what is everyone else doing when this is going down? It's a huge world, right?
I think that's the fun part. Is
Yeah.
you can there's been comics and there's been video games. There's actually a video game that tells you what happened to Ripley's daughter.
Is that Isolation?
Yeah.
Yeah, Alien Isolation's phenomenal. It's on sale for like $3 on Steam right now, and the Xbox Complete Collection with all the DLC and everything is $12, down from $50. So I mean, pick that up.
Yeah, and
it's
if
awesome.
I hear that's referenced in this movie too a bunch.
And then the Colonial Marines, the game,
yep,
and there's I think there's comics about that. But
Oh, yeah.
this movie does seem to mention all of the other properties, which I thought was kind of cool.
They don't mention Blade Runner, which is kind of in the same world.
What?
Blade Runner and Aliens are like, that's the theory, is that
Okay.
they go like when you see the replicant's eyes, like it's got like that white dot in the middle. Look at the replicants in these movies. Like it's the same.
The synthetics?
Yeah, the
Like
synthetics. They have the same like eyes. There's,
Oh.
I think Wayland or Yutani is referenced in Blade Runner.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
I think.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, I
makes
think it's
sense.
one of those things where they're going to continue to make subtle references, but like, you know, hopefully never like explicitly
paths.
tie
Yes,
them
correct.
together.
Correct.
you know?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Well, since Blade Runner was Warner Brothers, I feel pretty confident that's not
that's
going
fair.
to occur.
That's totally.
Right.
I forgot about
barring
that.
another mega
merger.
merger. But yes, like it's something that the director could get away with because it was nerd stuff and people in suits weren't paying
Right.
attention.
Right.
But
Now they're like, hey,
now wait
a
a
second.
second. We have IP lawyers that can point this stuff out to us.
Who makes this movie? What studio is this?
20th century.
20th century.
20th Century, and okay, it's just them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's why it's so funny. When the Fox merger goes through, Marvel immediately announces a Predator comic book series, an Alien comic book series, and a whole bunch of variant
Avengers
covers.
versus Aliens. How
Avengers
about
versus
that?
Aliens is coming. Like it's happening by Jonathan Hickman and
That's great.
somebody. It's
It
just
is
like-
fun. They can play in these different sandboxes.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a Superman comic where Superman gets a queen implanted in his chest,
okay.
and he's not on Earth, so his invulnerability isn't working, and so there's a queen that's about to burst out of Superman's chest.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the plot. So these are new characters.
All
I mean,
new
other than
characters.
the little tie-in that we get later, like it's a new group of people. It takes place between Alien and Aliens.
Yeah, so the end of Alien, right? We've got Ripley on a cargo ship, and she has blown a xenomorph out of the lock.
I was like, she's what?
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
I can't even-
Ridley Scott has gone too far. That's
I saw The Counselor. I
Yeah.
don't know. Yes.
Alien takes place Prometheus is 2093.
Yeah.
Alien is 2122, and this is 2142. So 20 years after.
So
Alien.
Ripley's still floating around out there because
Yeah.
the company.
Cryo, they're
Yeah,
in
she's
cryo
sleeping.
sleep.
Yeah.
Which is
Her
a
and-
great. I love in these movies that they can put them in cryostasis and
We'll
then
come back to you
hundreds
later.
of years later or whatever.
Well,
yeah.
I think the gap
makes
between
sense. It's owned by Disney now.
correct.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why they needed 20th Century
That's
Fox.
exactly
so
why.
they could
The
unlock it.
real
Like,
Right.
reason for the merger has been revealed.
Cryo freeze.
Yes.
So I think the gap between Alien and Aliens is like 60, 65 years.
Yeah.
Because when Ripley wakes up, they're like, by the way, your kid's dead.
It takes
Yeah, sorry.
place 37 years.
But if it makes you
after
feel
this
any
movie.
better, The Simpsons is still on.
That's right. And guess what? They predicted everything.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the first time we've actually not been on a ship. Alien 3, we're on a planet, but this is the first time we get a look at how
colony.
evil Wayland Yutani is.
Yeah.
They
If you couldn't tell
I
by
know,
all the
yeah.
other crap
right.
they've
Paul
done.
Reiser's a scumbag. Like it's all of it. Not in real life, like his character. There is a
He
weird
seems
what
very
if.
nice in real life.
Yeah, there's a weird what if comic based around his character.
Oh, okay.
Like, what if he hadn't died in Alien and he goes back to? It's very. It was like Paul Reiser wrote the comic. It was very
okay.
strange.
Okay.
So yeah, so these characters, like it sounds like they're basically indentured servants
Yeah.
to the company, and the only way they can get off planet is if they produce enough credits or like.
I think it's time. I think
it's
you
like
served
have to
10
work
years. and,
number of hours.
Oh,
and
okay,
then
okay.
So
she
she had enough-
works her numbers of hours, and she's ready to leave, and they're like, "Oh, we've increased the number of
Yeah,
hours."
I've got all my
Literally
paperwork.
doubled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very Jeddah. Is that where Ray is when like the guy won't give her the credits
Oh, gosh, you
I
got
think
me
it's-
on
I
that
think it's
one.
Jeddah.
But so that's Kaylee Spaney
from Civil War?
who's in Civil War.
She was great in Civil War.
Yeah.
That was I
thought she was great in this. I really liked her.
I do too. I think she was very good.
Yep.
She and her, we are led to believe he's her brother, but we don't really know anything else. And then this character named Adam, no, right?
Andy.
Andy, thank you, is attacked by a bunch of bullies, and we see the white synthetic blood like coming off him. And as soon as I saw the white blood, I was like, oh no, this never ends.
I
well
just
for
thought
anybody.
he really liked it.
Oh, jeez.
Well, it's-
Do it again.
What is the year
Do it again. Do it again.
2142? Who knows how these
yeah,
things
right,
work?
right. No, Judge, we don't king shame even in 2023 or
as long as
2142.
you consent.
That's right.
That's all that matters.
That's all
But
that matters.
this actor, I've never seen him, but he was in a Hulu show.
What was the Hulu show?
David, did you?
No,
That's
he
why
was
you've
in
never seen
Rye
it.
Lane, which is a movie that's actually really great.
Rye
A really
Lane.
great romantic comedy that came out
Okay.
on Hulu.
On Hulu. Okay, sorry, Hulu movie. This guy was so charismatic and so good at switching between the friendly synthetic to Wayland
Wayland
synthetic.
Yutani synthetic.
And I just thought he was phenomenal. I had never seen him, but instantly, I think he's the best part of this movie. And I wanted to go see other things he had done, so I want to
Sure.
go check that out.
The dad
Watch
jokes.
Rye Lane. It's probably the best romantic comedy of the last couple of years.
Okay, wow, that's high praise. Okay, and then his name is David Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was programmed by our main character's dad. So he's constantly telling dad jokes, which I thought were great.
Rain Carradine is her
Rain.
name. Just
yeah,
so you know.
thank you.
You're welcome.
The dad jokes, I think, were a nice little twist.
That was great.
I liked it.
The dad program dad jokes,
Yes.
and to keep her comfortable, and it was wonderful.
It was
Yeah.
good. So
And
they
it actually comes in later in the plot when she needs to figure out how to get out of the whole situation. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
That I got to tell you, that little plot device is pretty great.
Yeah.
When we get there,
We'll get
but yeah. So they're they're out of luck. There's no way they can afford to leave. They're behind on their rent. They're gonna whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen.
Do you really think a huge corporation would double your indentured? Never mind.
That doesn't seem like something corporations would do.
Not very
Friendly corporations.
Yeah,
What is this?
I,
a Disney movie? Okay.
yeah.
It
never
is a
mind.
Disney movie.
Oh, okay.
If only they could get tax cuts, they
Oh.
wouldn't have to do this.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
They
that
only
would do
had
it. Yeah,
Enough
Yeah.
money.
they wouldn't double their profits. They would just
no.
use it all. And
It would
They would
trickle
help
down.
out. They would help out. Oh yeah, because we know how well that works.
It would trickle down on you like white android
like
blood.
It's great.
Just spurt after
Perfect.
spurt of white
Right
android
in
blood.
your face.
Yes.
I just want to know if M. Night Shyamalan has anything to do with these events. He's around a lot of interesting. That's a callback from last week.
That is
David.
very much. Yeah. Right.
He's just a lot.
He's not responsible, Kevin.
When it
I
goes
said.
down, M. Night Shyamalan seems to be around these
We're gonna get a
events.
cease and desist where he's like, "Hey, stop saying that." So she gets a call from someone who I assume is her ex-boyfriend, who says, "Hey, we've got a lock." I guess we should say the very beginning of this movie is completely silent, which I was like, "That's fun," because
Nobody can hear you
nobody shows
scream?
that, which is yes,
in space.
but they never do that. There's always like a soundtrack, or you hear
Yeah.
like things bouncing off. It's like, well, there is
No, it's
nothing.
awesome.
Yeah.
So I liked that a lot. And we see the remnants of the Nostromo, which is the ship from the first movie.
Was it the Nostromo? I thought it was the ship that they were going to.
No, that when you see like bits and pieces.
Oh,
of
that
it.
they're getting the thing off of it. Okay.
Yeah, because
okay.
you see the name on the side of it.
Yeah, which I was like, I remember I was sitting there, I was like,
Oh.
oh, that's kind of
That's
fun. Like,
right. That's what I'm saying. In these movies, you can go back. People later on can go find things from the other movies.
Yeah.
It's like, tell those stories. Give us more in this world. You don't have to keep giving us direct sequels.
Doesn't
or
have to
direct...
be, not everything has to be about Ripley.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's the same thing we're talking about with Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
They've got the same problem where it's like, come on, you're talking about this entire world, this entire galaxy, or many galaxies, whatever, and like you're focusing on the same people every time.
It is. I mean, they're
Right.
kind of doing that with the TV shows, right? Like you're branching
Yeah.
off to different
they
characters.
need to do
but
it
I
in the
think
movies so they
game-
become
yeah.
mainstream. The problem
Yes.
is people in the movies, they go, oh, this isn't or for, at least for now, they're
There's
like, oh,
no Luke.
this is a TV show. That's not real, right?
Right.
When you put a new movie where no one even mentions Skywalker, they're gonna go like, oh, real Star Wars can be not just about Skywalkers.
Well, that's the games. There's a new one coming out that's like an open world
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto Star Wars game.
Or make a movie about Cal because he's
Oh,
already tied
yeah.
in, I guess, with the TV shows and stuff.
Yeah.
It's
But I'm
somewhere,
never
so-
going to watch the shows and I'm never going to play the games, so I need the movies.
Yeah,
I do recommend The Force Unleashed 1 and 2 and
yeah.
the new
but
one.
but they got to do it in the movie. So again, I like that they did this here. Give us an alien story with these new characters.
Yeah.
yeah.
So we see the Weyland Yutani Corporation, and they find this big rock, and they kind of bring it inside, and they cut it open. And I remember sitting there thinking, "There's no way." Like all right.
It was like a fossil, right? Because it was a xenomorph head.
It was the xenomorph that Ripley shot out of the ship.
But did they take the alien out of it, or did they just find like a fossil of it?
No, they took the alien out of it because we see him that's the alien we see up in the rafters that the Marines had killed.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Oh, that's right. Because stuff went down and they find it later. Got it. Okay.
That's it's the same alien from the first movie.
wow.
So they say that look, there's this
Boy, it had to be expensive to get him back.
It was super
Right?
expensive. Yeah,
Like
same
that's-
actor.
yeah.
It was same costume. It was intense.
It's a she, right?
No, I think it was like a.
Oh, it wasn't the
It's
queen
she
one.
in the second one.
Yeah, the
right?
queen's in the
Oh,
second one.
That's
right.
the big twister-rooney.
Yeah.
And then we didn't have an internet back then, so nobody was mad about it.
That's true.
Oh, the Mary Sue
whoa, come on.
Xenomorph. Here we
Xenomorph.
go.
Xenomorph can't be a woman.
Unbelievable.
Oh.
Alien went, whoa.
That line in that second one was like, these eggs got to be coming from somewhere. And I was like, well, you're right.
Dude, and I gotta say too, the Alien movies are interesting. That they always explore this, like how humanity is so awful and does all these terrible things, and like of course as humanity we want to root for the humans, but also it's like who's to say the aliens aren't the heroes, right? Like I mean, we're
Well, they do kind of go on unrepentant killing
Yeah.
sprees.
When they refer to the aliens as perfect killing machines.
Right.
well, they maybe don't need to be killing machines, but I'm just saying like when you talk about nature, right? It's
they're not like diplomatic machines.
It's not like if you
Right.
beat the predator, the predator's like, good job.
Yeah.
Like you
Kevin,
won.
I'm with you, Kevin, and also
Right?
David in the prequels is also a hero as far as I'm concerned. So.
He murders Shaw. He rips her jaw off. I
But-
don't think you
but-
get to be a hero
I
at
think-
that point.
but I think
But I
it's-
think the larger point is that any evolution of species like goes through this period.
Yes.
Like,
Evolution, it's
not
natural
It's not
selection.
like mankind was super concerned about
Sure.
what I mean, and good 40% of us still aren't. but like it's just like, well, I need to eat. There's an animal. I'm
I'ma
going to
eat it.
kill
Yeah.
it and eat
I'ma-
it.
I'ma
Like
do it.
we didn't go, oh, I'm not going to kill this thing. So, like, that's what I mean is it's a really interesting exploration because us as humans, of course, we want the continuation of the species. Of course, we think the humans are good guys. Some of them at least.
Yeah.
But it's just like, here's this other creature that exists out there. And again, like in other movies, like what does humanity do? Like in Avatar, it tells the same story. Another James Cameron. What are you going to do? You find them and you don't try to befriend them. You want to experiment on them and take their
I
land.
can see the
and-
argument that like the alien,
What
the,
the alien
the
do.
xenomorphs are just doing what xenomorphs do.
That's what I'm saying, right? And so who's to say when humans take them and experiment on them and go on their territory or whatever, like they reproduce, they do their thing, right? And so again, we like the humans and we root for them, but I think these movies, and especially with Prometheus and the stuff that David's doing and all that, it's like they're trying to create or look for the superior species, and they're like, why would the humans win? They're not the superior.
Well, they're definitely not superior in. I guess that's true. I guess they're not superior. Sigourney Weaver in 4 is like an alien
Hybrid thing,
It's
yeah.
like I won't get into that because that movie is insane. But Fincher directed 3,
Yeah.
and there's a
It's his first movie,
It
right?
is, and it's
Yeah.
a mess. And it's not his movie.
It's because he wasn't Fincher yet.
He
and
wasn't
they wouldn't-
Fincher yet.
So
Yeah,
they
they
were
would-
like, well, we're not doing that.
Yeah, he's like, you directed a 9 Inch Nails video. Just
Yeah.
make it look like that. Just do that. So they say that there's this. They think there's a ship above the atmosphere of this planet that is just completely destroyed, and if there's cryosleep pods on this, we can steal the pods, put them in our ship, and we'll get to wherever Rigel 4. or
They should have
whatever.
put Walt Disney in one of them, just like in like in the
Would've been
background.
so
I mean,
wild.
since they own it's the same company. What if they had a guy in one of them that just looked
So
with a
insane.
mustache?
Yeah, right. So, but the key to all of this is Andy, right? Like, no, they can't get onto the ship without a synthetic who
He's
is
a Weyland-Yutani
synthetic, and
yeah.
he can interface with their mainframe, get the doors open, and do whatever. And Rain, that was close.
You're thinking of Inside
I was
Out.
right. That's exactly what I was
Inside
thinking of.
Out Alien.
Show me that movie.
Yeah.
Dude,
Give me-
I
give
would
me a-
watch
give me a
CG Pixar
give me a
animated
Pixar
alien.
alien movie.
Yes, rated R, please. I wonder if someday Disney will farm out Pixar to do now that Deadpool's super rated R in the MCU. I wonder if Disney will ever farm out them for adult animation.
It's one of those things that I always wonder. I'm surprised that nobody has just done it. Just done a
Sausage Party,
that's
Yeah,
true.
that's what I was gonna say.
But I mean
like CG, like more modern day. Yeah, because I mean, you used to have Ralph Bakshi. did
Yeah,
the-
like
Yeah.
Fritz the
Like,
Cat.
so, but like with CG, you never really until Sausage Party. But I don't know. Disney's all about shareholders and making more profits. If they see what Deadpool can do for MCU, I just wonder if they won't put Disney or Pixar on the name, but
Yeah.
will they branch off and go, oh well, this is the adult
This is
animation.
Touchstone Point 2.
Yeah.
I guess that's what this is.
But anyway, so they get Andy.
They
to,
go they agree, and they get up into. We're introduced to 4 new characters, and when I saw these characters, I was like, red shirt, red shirt, red shirt.
right.
That's where you guys are.
I didn't recognize any of them.
No.
Were they anyone that you?
No.
Okay.
I
is
did.
fine.
I did see an interview with Alvarez where he said he would ask people if they had seen like the first 2 Alien movies,
They'd say
and if they
no.
say no, he's like out.
Yeah.
Like nope, you can't.
Oh, except
I
for
was
Dora the Explorer. She, Isabella
Oh.
Merced. That's the
Oh,
only
Is
one.
that
she's
right?
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. She. What was she just in that was really good too? She was in Madam Web, David's favorite movie.
Yeah,
and she was.
I love Madam Web.
What is happening?
But Isabella
Well, thanks
Merced.
for joining us, Dave.
Isabella Merced, who
Isn't
was
she
Dora.
Isn't she Hawkgirl?
Yeah, I think she was in that too.
No, she's going to be Hawkgirl.
Or she's going to be right.
Yeah.
But so we saw her in Madam
Not
Web, and
Hawk to a girl.
No, it's
that's a very different movie. Okay.
but she was one of the best parts. I said it on a review of Madam Web, where she kind of felt like she knew what she was doing. She showed up to do her. I don't know. She's charismatic, so I
She
thought
has
she
one hell of a scene in this movie, boy. I tell
Yeah.
you what.
dude. Dude, when Fetty Alvarez goes full sicko
I
mode,
th-
I was
When she, we'll get
I was
there.
like that guy in the window, and I bet David was too.
Yeah.
Going yes, please.
When we get there, but when you say that Fetty Alvarez is doing a movie like this, it's like
I
this
knew it
is-
was
this is
coming
gonna
based
get
on the Evil Dead
wild.
movie. How many
Yes.
gallons and buckets
Right,
of blood did
right.
they use in that movie?
Yeah, so they go up in this ship, and then they realize it's not a ship. Like what they have found is a decommissioned, not working space station, and they say that we've got like 36 hours to get in there, get our stuff, and get out.
Romulus and Remus are the two
Yes.
halves of the space station.
So they get up into the spaceship, and we kind of get an interaction between one of the guys who's the jerk and Andy, and we find out that a synthetic basically killed this guy's mom.
Yeah.
So he's got a bit of an attitude towards
I get it.
synthetics. It's fair.
Yeah.
It's fair. And every synthetic we've met, with the exception of Bishop and Carr from 2 and 3. Okay, so just Ash is bad. Like always.
David, depending on how you
Okay,
look
so
at it.
David in Prometheus is bad. David in Alien Covenant, there's
Well, that's
2 of
Walter,
them.
right?
Oh yeah, it's Walter.
Two
That's
different.
right.
David is just the worst.
David
David
is
That's,
the
why,
but
that's
David-
why I love him. He's
but
the
yeah,
worst
David-
of them all.
David is
Yeah.
very evil.
David's
Yeah.
the one where
He's
they're
a
like,
what's
Nazi,
that-
basically.
yes, yeah. But I do like that with
It's
that
eugenics, right?
with
Is that
that-
what
yeah,
the?
it's exactly
yeah,
what it is.
Okay.
And David in that one's like, when they see what David becomes, they're like, "Oh, we screwed that up."
But
Like, we
God,
gotta-
Michael Fassbender is
He's
awesome,
great.
isn't he? Though, like he's
Yeah.
such a charismatic dude. Like that's why I wanted to see more David or whatever that kind of android, because they should have brought him back. He's just so good.
He's very good.
I wish that they could have paid him to be in it.
And he's responsible for the xenomorph. Like that's what we
Right.
find out in Covenant
Yeah.
is that he's the reason they exist.
So Dora's pregnant.
Dora's pregnant, and initially, you're thinking she's throwing up, and then
You just think she's sick, and
Rain
then
is like,
No,
what the hell?
I thought she was instantly pregnant.
Yeah, as soon as she was
soon as
throwing
she
up,
threw
I
up,
was like,
immaculate
oh,
conception.
I was like pregnant.
pregnant.
Yeah.
Absolutely pregnant. And it's a Fetty Alvarez movie. I'm like, she's pregnant.
But
That's-
the ship, I think the ship was blasting off. I just figured that was like zero, like gravity, G forces. Like I think they play it to where it's like, oh,
I
that
could
was
see
a,
that, but I mean, they tell you immediately. that
Nobody
she's
else
pregnant.
was.
yeah,
Throwing up.
That's true.
yeah,
And she
Yeah.
threw up a lot.
yeah.
And she's, who's the dad? And she's like, I don't know. It's like some loser. And I was like,
Uh,
oh, that's one of these
yeah,
mothers.
yeah.
It's not her brother, but I bet you it's the other guy.
I know how narrative devices work.
That's exactly
Yeah. Do you get morning sickness on a planet with no daylight? How does that work?
Yeah. I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just
Wow,
get sickness.
This
interesting.
little loophole.
Yeah.
I'd like to know, how do they all know how to fly spaceships?
Well, I think they're all
Workers,
workers.
Like they're
If you
going
don't
up
want
and-
these people to leave the planet,
maybe don't teach them to
don't
fly.
teach them how to fly a spaceship.
That is
Now,
true.
I mean, I've never been an evil corporation, but this seems like
Counterproductive.
101.
Yeah, right.
It's why they didn't teach slaves to read.
Oh, God.
Right? I mean, it,
No, I hear you.
I'm not
Stating facts.
not for it,
Yeah,
just
right,
to be
right.
clear, but it occurred.
Right.
It was the logic that went into it. So, like, if you don't want your indentured servants to leave the planet,
And the fact that
don't teach them to fly.
I did think that was weird.
spaceships.
Like they do leave the planet and nobody stops them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing that again, I don't know the backstory, or maybe
Well, I think it's because anywhere close to there is so far away that if you don't have access to a cryo chamber,
Sure.
what's
never
the
gonna
point?
make it.
which is
Yeah.
probably why they didn't have enough
Although
cryo to.
I would also make the argument, if I have to spend 10 years in the boredom of a spaceship or 10 years working in the salt mines
Yeah, right.
in Dorvavan 1650,
maybe just fly off.
only for them to add another 10 years as soon as I get to 9 years and 11 months,
Yeah.
I'll take the spaceship.
I'll take the spaceship.
Yeah.
Any day of the week.
So
So
they get
dock,
in.
They dock in and they find there's nobody there. So it's cold and the spaceship is the station is off.
Oh yeah, I like it when they booted it up. That was cool.
Yeah, and I like when you see everything kind of turn on. Yeah, that's one of my favorite
So
things.
much
Also,
good sound design in this movie.
It is
That-
great.
from right from the beginning when the computers flip on and
It's
it
the
sounds
same
just
sound.
like the monitors in Alien. Yeah,
the sound of the pulse rifles is one of the best machine gun sounds
So cool.
ever.
Yeah.
It's the best.
I saw
love
an
it.
interview with Fede Alvarez. He said they went back and like tried to get as many of the original tapes of the
Yes.
recordings from
that's
the
cool.
original.
That's a lot of fun.
beautiful. Yeah.
yeah.
So they
They get into this like scientific research lab. It looks like.
well, they find the chambers, but there's not enough energy on the chambers to get them where they need to go. So they realize that there's got to be another spot somewhere.
They gotta have a cryo heist.
The cryo heist, that's right. So they get the gravity turned back on in the ship, and they go into this chamber. And as soon as they find
Chekhov's gravity purge.
yeah.
Oh, even if it's inactive, it has to purge itself every. That's the only thing where I'm just like, okay. go
All
on.
right.
All right.
We'll see that later. They find the cryo fuel and they go to pull it out and it triggers this alarm.
I thought this was a great way to ramp up the suspense. They're in the lab. We see all these little experiment
Well,
things kind of blurred out.
we do see like
something in a
face
jar.
huggers like vacuum sealed into this
Right,
thing.
but you see stuff, but you're kind of not sure what is going on in there or whatever. And then as soon as they pull out the cryo tube, you see all these face huggers that are up on the wall, and you see the temperature gauge, and it gets warmer.
Yeah.
It turns red. It's getting critical, and they let these things out. And I just thought it was a great way visually to see all this stuff and how they were preserving them.
Yes.
And then for it to heat up, and then it's all like water.
Yeah. Like
the room.
I feel like things are like defrosting. So
Yeah.
there is water like on the floor.
And so now they're scurrying and swimming through the
Which
water
is from
around 'em.
Alien Resurrection.
Oh, is it?
Like
Okay.
there's an alien that swims in the water.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, that's a nice little touch.
Yeah.
But I do think this is the most we've seen a face hugger move.
Oh yeah, they're
Oh,
we've never
definitely.
seen them like stampede around
We've seen
a
them
ship,
jump
like,
out of an egg.
which was great. I thought it was great to see them like doing their thing, like
Yeah.
like all chasing and jumping, and then the fact, did we know before that? I haven't watched these movies in a while. Did we know that they are like based on heat and not based on?
I don't remember that.
Is that
I don't
because that
recall
sounds like
that either.
Predator? I don't remember that.
I know that
An
Ripley,
alien.
in the end of Alien 3, Ripley jumps into, she's got spoilers for Alien 3, she's got a queen in
Mm-hmm.
her chest, and she jumps into like a lava pit to stop the queen from being born. But I don't remember anything about a heat, like
Yeah.
that they're attracted
So it
to
might
heat.
be. Maybe it's in the books or comics or something.
There
but,
could be.
But I thought it was interesting to see that part of it where they're having to kind of like, again, don't breathe. It's very that suspense and trying to sneak around and everything. But anyway, so they start attacking them, and meanwhile they've what's his face?
The boyfriend?
No, Andy. They
Oh,
realize
this is-
they can't. He doesn't have the security protocols because
Yeah.
his lab is so locked down. So she takes the little
We
chip
see-
out of.
So we should say there's a hole in this ship, and we're just like, well, okay, that's acid blood. Like that's what that is. And there's like this. There's an android, a synthetic, face down, all boiled up, like, and he looks like Ash from the first movie. And if they had, if they had just left it like that, because
I know.
I was
Yeah.
like, just leave it.
I
Like, we
know.
all know who that is.
I know. I really wish, but I mean, the synthetic had more to do, and so I guess they just, he's throughout the movie,
Yeah.
he's guiding them and trying to get get them to do his bidding and
He
all
becomes
that.
the main antagonist, basically.
Yeah,
Big time. Yeah, for
right?
sure. Yeah, he's the face of the company. Like that's
So anyway, he jumps up. They're able to subdue him. They get his microchip out, and so he has the security protocols. So Rain runs to the door, like there's a crack in the door, and she's like, "Put this in Andy, and it will give him the protocols." So he's rebooting basically
Yeah.
while all these little things are scurrying around, and he's just frozen there.
Right.
And one of them jumps up, I think, and he like grabs
grabs
it, which is
and I
like
was
you're
like,
like, "Oh boy."
no.
It's like I know kung fu.
Well, it's exactly that.
Right?
because Andy had been kind of like this gentle giant.
Yeah,
Kind
he's
of
of
like-
stuttering and like
Yeah,
you
he's
feel
had,
like
like,
he's because he's an
seizures,
older
kind of.
older robot. He's got some issues. She basically it's like a Nintendo cartridge. She takes his chip out,
Yeah.
blows on it, puts it back in, and then it works. And so, but now he's grabbing these things and instantly, and the actor like his body language, he's like.
Totally
Yeah, he does the
different.
Superman thing.
It's great, right? Yeah, it is totally. It's like the Superman transformation, and so now he's like, come with me if you want to live.
Yeah,
basically,
yeah, right.
Getting them out of there.
So while they're trying to get out of here, all of these face huggers are just descending upon this door, and unfortunately, one of them latches on to one of the crew members of the ship, who is I assume is the girlfriend of the character.
Yeah.
And what I like is we as people that have watched these movies know.
She's not Tom Holland from the movie poster.
Correct. Yeah, right. We know that once that thing's on you, like game over, man. There was Alien 2. That's what that was. But none of our characters know that.
More subtle fan service than they're about to hit.
Yeah.
That's very true. That's very true. I'm surprised that line didn't get used in this movie.
It would have made more sense
Than the one that did
than
get
the
used.
one we got.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
That was
'cause
real
it's-
bad.
That
Right.
is cringe-inducing.
If that maybe that is the number one bad thing about the movie,
That's fair.
and the Ash lookalike is the number two
If
because
he had,
that line was the most
if he had
out of
just
place.
said, "Get away from her,"
Yeah.
and just left it,
Right.
But that's an
Okay.
Aliens line, right?
that is an
Right.
Aliens line. Yeah.
Anyway,
when Ripley
but
saves
that was
Reed.
so freaking bad. I can't believe they didn't cut that. Like
So bad.
They
I
go,
can't-
we need fan service, like 2 more
More.
percent fan
We need
service.
fan service for people who haven't seen an Alien movie since 1987.
But anyway, so the face hugger gets her, and it's like they show that it's choking her.
Yeah. So the deal, if you can't, once the face hugger is latched on, it provides oxygen, but it is implanting an alien in your chest for incubation. But if you try to take it off, the tail of the face hugger will either suffocate the person that they're on, or they'll break their neck and they're dead. And I did like this where they gave Rain. They give you an idea of kind of how smart or resourceful she is, where she says, "Hey, why don't we try to freeze it, and it'll maybe let go, or we can break it off, and it won't be as bad."
Yeah.
So that's what they do. The facehugger lets go, and I feel like this happens very fast.
Man, they pull that thing out for what seems like for
That's
days,
true,
right?
yeah.
That thing is
well, I mean, like
down
even
there.
in the first movie, the initial when we see a character with a facehugger, the initial the alien doesn't pop out of his chest quickly.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole period.
Yeah,
of
what's
time.
the incubation fact like?
I feel like
period?
the David aliens are pretty fast. In Prometheus, it happens very fast.
Okay,
It's a little bit
and I'm not
different.
arguing. It was a fun time, but God, the way these things grew from baby to gigantic
well, no,
xenomorph.
in Alien, the first one at least, it does happen fast.
Does it go that fast?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it comes out of the guy's chest. And
Again,
then-
it's their rules. I enjoyed the movie. I'm just saying, like, when they're like, oh, it's a chest burster, and oh, it's up in the wall, and oh, it's a xenomorph. Like, I
Yeah.
just was like, what
no,
the
it
hell?
happen. I feel like it happens pretty fast
Okay.
because when he kills Harry Dean Stanton, like it's not long after we see that
Yeah.
thing for.
Okay. Does that seem fair, David? Did you think that they
Yeah,
matched?
it always does seem fast. I mean, these movies are just like quick moving, just
Yeah.
terror, you know?
We get everybody off, where they're supposed to be. We put
We should say Andy is very much like he's very much the Weyland-Yutani droid now, where he's making calculated decisions, and the Rook droid has basically reprogrammed him to
Yeah.
have a new mission, which is to do what's ever best for the company,
company.
as opposed to what's best for Rain. And so now his goal is to basically steal the xenomorph DNA, whatever.
So this is very
experiment.
interesting because this ties into Prometheus.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is like when we see David in Prometheus has they're not in that movie. They're not eggs. Like they're like these
Oh,
cylindrical
pods, weren't they?
Well, that's in Covenant.
Okay.
but it's like this goo. It's this black goo. And David takes some of that and puts it into a guy's drink just to see
Yeah.
what it would do. Which I was also to David's point, where like Michael Fassbender's an evil son of a
Oh,
bitch.
yeah.
He was just like,
Oh,
you know
God,
what?
yeah.
Let's try this.
Just for funsies.
Just for funsies.
Yeah.
And then, but we do get like an alien baby in that one in Prometheus with Elizabeth Shaw has like cuts an alien out of her stomach. So we find out that, and they reference Prometheus in this, where Rook says, I've been perfecting this thing to make humans better. And he calls it like Prometheus 0. point whatever. And it's all a reference to the first movie, which I thought was like, wow, I cannot believe we just referenced Prometheus in these movies.
Yeah, it's tying everything together. It's not like this is a side thing that ignores them or whatever. I mean, they're trying to really make all of them
That's what I mean
canon,
when it's
so-
like, it's this interesting combination like Dr. Sleep was, where
Yeah.
it's like, we're going to take the book, the movie, and we'll just tie it all together.
Yeah.
Um,
So he's basically trying to get this experimental stuff back to
LV-242.
the
right on.
Weyland Yutani people are doing the research. He's trying to escape with it before this thing blows up. We should also mention that it's
The
like
time has
40.
sped-
It's
yeah.
like 40 minutes until impact to the rings of this planet.
Yeah,
Right,
they're
yeah.
like, I thought we had 36 hours, and then Andy's like, look, this thing shifted like a half a degree, so it
Yeah.
completely changed everything.
Yeah.
So we have to get out of here.
So it's a race against the clock. They're trying to get this stuff back, and I do like this where like the girl who had the face hugger, you know, they're obviously trying to save her, and Andy's like, nope, she's no good. Like,
That is very interesting because in the other movies, like in the first movie, when they find, I wish I could remember that character's name, the guy with the face hugger, Ripley's like
Face huggy McGee.
Face huggy McGee. Ripley's like, "Well, he's not coming on the ship. Like
Right?
he stays off the ship, and then Ash, the chief science officer, lets him on,
Right, 'cause
there's
he
a
wants-
there's-
yeah.
right. And is Charlize Theron in Covenant or is she in Prometheus?
Just Prometheus.
She says he's not coming on the ship.
Yeah.
Look at his face. No way. That's Logan Marshall Green, actually.
Oh, okay.
Not Tom Hardy.
Not Tom Hardy,
Not
yeah.
Tom
Right,
Hardy.
right.
And then she sets him on fire. But I do like that there are people in these worlds who are just like, fucking
Right?
No.
So I like
no.
that, and I like that Andy's, you know, calculated decisions here, because like his main objective is, or directive is, to do what's best for the company, but he also isn't like trying to get the humans killed. It's just he has to follow the Prime directive, and he is trying to save them in a way where it's like, oh, it's either they die or all of us die, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like he is still trying to, you know, I mean, they obviously are helping him with his goal, but it's just that he's not going like, whatever, let them die.
I do think that when we get to the scene, spoilers, the sister's going to die. When
Oh,
And-
this is just a wicked, awesome.
But it's like,
scene.
but it you can see it both ways. You can see where Rain and her boyfriend are like, get her, like, open the door, and Andy's like, nah. Look at that big thing behind her. Like, he's waiting for me to open that door. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not opening that door.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
great.
she gets gutted in front of them.
Right, it's great. He
Yeah.
made the right
He did
decision,
make
right?
the
That's
right
what I'm
decision.
saying. And like I know he wants them to help him with his Prime directive, but I guess he could just run off and do his thing. But like I just like the way that character's played with all his calculated decisions, and it's like, well, one of them will die or three of them will die, so we got
Which
to
is
let
why
the one
that
die.
guy's mom died, right? Like,
Yeah.
they
Oh,
say
yeah.
that
It's
the
yeah.
synthetic had to make a choice
Same
between
decision, right.
15 people or 3.
It's the trolley.
It's a trolley.
That's very
Yep.
good. So now we've got the sister pregnant girl on Dora is on the ship, and we've got our person who's infected with the chest burster. And this is
Such a great scene. They have an X-ray device
I
that
thought
they
that was
find earlier,
awesome.
so you can look through. She's looking through her arm and everything at the bones and all that. And so she uses it. She's like, "What's going on?" She puts it behind her back.
you can see
her
it
whole chest
moving.
is X-rayed, and then
It
all
was
of
like
a
a
sudden,
sci-fi version of when you put a flashlight behind your hand.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
but
right.
it looked so cool. The effects of this
Yeah.
and the horror and the score ramped up and everything was just awesome.
And then, so normally with a chest burst, when we've seen these chest bursters, it's like one straight shot and this thing is out of your chest. This one's like, nah, we're gonna crack that rib cage open.
Oh,
from
the cracking of the- oh,
from
so
the
good.
inside, and
Yeah.
it's not. And initially, I thought, because when those things come out, when the baby xenomorphs come out, they're already fully they're moving pretty quickly. This
Yeah.
one was like a baby. Like when it was born, it had to come. It sat there for a second and then it took off.
It was like the dinosaur from Jurassic Park.
it
coming out
kind
the
of was
egg.
like the dinosaur. That's exactly right.
That was Eileen Wu as Navarro.
Well, we don't have to talk about her anymore. She dead. And then I'm trying to think. Like now we've got a xenomorph on this ship, and we think it's just one. And we quickly find
We'd
out
be mistaken.
we are wrong. So we talked about it before, where our Dora is being chased. Dora is pregnant, and I'm almost positive it's
Kay is her character name, if you would like to
we're
know.
gonna stick with Dora. Like
Only because we loved that movie.
that movie was
That
fantastic.
movie's so
Great.
good.
So
It
good.
really is.
I'm glad she's getting a shot at like a big franchise.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's fun. So kid guy is the dad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's no doubt that they have a moment where they see each other.
The ex-boyfriend,
jerks.
right?
Chick stick jerks. That's
Bill
exactly.
Hicks said
Her-
it best.
That's right.
It's Rain's ex-boyfriend.
No. It's, it's Navarro's boyfriend.
Yeah, yeah.
That yeah.
Yep.
He
Bjorn.
doesn't matter because he's dead
He's-
next.
There you go. Spike Fearn
Yeah,
as Bjorn.
He gone. He's got like this, and he dies, I think, in the worst way possible. So we see David, have we ever seen a cocoon like this where the baby xenomorph is growing into the big xenomorph? I don't remember a
I don't
cocoon like
remember it.
this.
I'm not sure. If anything, maybe in Aliens, but I'm not sure though.
I don't
Okay.
remember them growing like that. I feel
Yeah.
like the little thing scampers away, and then all of a sudden you've got a xenomorph.
Yeah, I
don't
did like this
remember-
where you see like the shedding of
Kind
the
of like
skin.
an old werewolf
Yeah.
movies.
It's exactly
Who walks behind a pillar and comes out with
Yeah.
a full face
Yeah,
of
like,
hair.
well,
Now
this is-
I kind of thought. Now I could be totally wrong. I kind of thought he took the electric thing and shocking it like somehow sped up the evolution. Of
I don't think you're totally wrong.
I thought
If
maybe that
possible.
was like giving it a jolt.
If that
to-
didn't look like a giant vagina,
Oh, I think you're
like
yes,
I'm like
giving birth to the alien,
HR Giger was
He was
very
in his-
excited about
Yes.
this movie.
He invented the fleshlight.
He did. That's right.
But I think that
I
was.
mean,
a,
what's a fleshlight?
I don't know.
I know.
Nobody knows.
I think that was an imagery of the thing being born, and
Oh, yeah.
also maybe what's the word? What foreshadowing of things to come?
Yes. Yeah.
Because we're going to see an alien born in a different way
Correct.
shortly. So
So he's trying to shock the xenomorph and kills it, and in the
Acid.
process, it gets acid all over him.
this movie gets the acid blood right.
Yeah.
Right? Because the acid blood in the other sequels is more kind of like, it's flying all over the place. You
In
might get
AVP
burned or
Requiem,
whatever.
they don't even reference the acid blood.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So like it's kind of just like, watch out, you're going to get burnt. But in this one, they're like, this acid's going to burn through the hole, and then there's going to be a vacuum.
Well, I do like that
and we're all
Andy,
going to
Andy
die.
does say that. He's like, they give Rain and the other character plasma rifles, and he's like, okay, we're gonna shoot him. He's like, the fuck you are, like, that's gonna, like, the blood's gonna hit the floor and we are screwed.
I know we don't always think about these things in sci-fi movies, especially, but in movies where you're like, well, that wouldn't work with the physics and whatever. But I think it is kind of cool they paid attention to that. To where like you can't just shoot a hole in the side of a spaceship because of a vacuum. You would all get sucked out or whatever. The
Yeah.
pressure, like it just doesn't work like that, right? And so they pay attention. Even
Although you can crack the glass on a helmet when you're in space,
I did think that
and
too.
nothing bad will happen.
Yeah, when the thing hits,
you
a,
just need to hurry up.
go quick.
You gotta hurry.
Yeah.
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 And also, when your ship explodes, there will be flames. Go on.
Continue.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
what-
just Alien
that
101.
honestly
That's-
is one of those space things that I have just had to be like,
Star Wars. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to
Just
make
deal
fun of
with
every
it.
movie
It
ever.
looks
if you're gonna
Cooler
do-
this way.
it does
I-
look cooler this way.
But
That's
I,
exactly
I
right.
like that they paid attention to some of it instead of just saying, "Oh no, there's
Yeah.
none of the physics matter." It's kind of cool that
Yeah.
they were like, "All right, don't get a hole." And we see it earlier, like whenever the space station, when the ship crashes and it creates a big vacuum and everything's like going to fly out there, and then there's another door that seals it off.
Yeah.
And that was kind of cool to see.
It was cool.
Yeah.
So Dora gets off of the one ship, but now she is kind of being stalked by the xenomorph on the second ship, and we've got our main.
She's playing Alien Isolation IRL.
She is. I was like,
Right?
hey man, be quiet. Like, she gets to this door, and we see our main characters are there, and Andy is there, and they're like, open the door, open the door, open the door, and he was like, nah,
Andy's like, "Nope."
no, thanks. And we think that Dora is killed. She's not.
No.
Right. while they're running around this entire
But
time,
with the alien tail going through her chest and
was
lifting
it her
her up.
chest or was it like through her like?
Well, whatever it went through, she's
Yeah.
not dead. So,
No.
but I mean, but it hooking her and then like bringing her up is just a
Right.
great visual.
It's yeah, and then we see so everybody's all pissed, but then we find basically an alien hive. Like our characters can't go a certain way; they have to go this different way, and they're walking through and they find this alien hive.
The
And
Rook synthetic is like guiding them at this
Yeah.
point. And again, obviously trying to get the scientific research, from Prometheus, and then also he's kind of guiding them like get to the ship, and I'll autopilot it out of here. And you see him popping up on screens as they're
right, like a Disney ride.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
So they start walking, and of course we see all of like the alien goop. I don't even know what you would call it. Just like
Jizz.
Jizz. Yes,
Yeah.
we find out where the entire crew of this space station is, and they are in the walls, and they are dead, which means there's a lot more.
But they were using them for breeding, right? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
they're all strung up there so that the face huggers can implant, and I took it as like they were just using them.
That's
to,
exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is what they always do. But then our main
I
character.
thought it was interesting instead of like seeing them just like I don't know on the ground and then it
Oh,
bursts
sure,
and dead.
sure,
like
sure.
they've got it like very
Well, we see that
efficiently.
in the first Alien, like the cap when Ripley finds Tom Skerritt.
Is there
like,
a whole hive like that? I just don't
There's not a
remember.
hive like that, but Tom Skerritt's like plastered into
Yeah.
the wall.
But I thought that was interesting to see so many. Like they had
Oh,
selectively
sure,
like
sure.
lined them all up and put them all in there. And I had wondered, did you guys think like was it a one and done or did they find a
No,
way
it's-
where someone could like breed over and over again?
I don't think you can do that.
I don't
Once
know.
Once
I
that
just
thing busts out of your chest.
I just thought the way they had it set up, it's like maybe they found a way to like patch them up and let them sit there and just chest burst
what
over
a
and over.
terrible existence
Right?
that
That's
would be.
but,
Good
but that would
Lord.
be so sicko, right? Like to
Yeah.
have them set up so they have to sit there and just breed
yeah,
these
that
aliens.
sounds terrible. Which is kind of what David does to Elizabeth.
Yeah.
It is Elizabeth Shaw. Everybody goes, we're not going that way. So they turn back around, and at some point they find Dora, and Dora is alive. Oh, that's right. They find her in the wall. She's like the boyfriend hears her.
Something leads them, aren't there?
She hears a-
face huggers or something's coming, so they have to go.
Yeah,
oh, he hears
her.
He hears her, and they do go that way.
Right. And then Andy's like, she's not infected. She doesn't have an alien in her chest because there's no.
Because she has a baby.
Well, she thinks that. They think that.
Yeah.
But also because there's no face hugger on the ground that next to them that had
Oh.
died. So they.
I always figured like if you have a baby, that actually protected her because it's like you can't implant it if there's already
Oh,
something
you think
in there.
they care? You think aliens don't care?
I know, but I just didn't know if like there was enough room to do all that.
I'll make room.
Okay.
So yeah, so they at this point, there's a moment where Andy's like, "Hey, try this goop. It'll make you feel better." And it's getting close. And I do like that Rain's like, no,
Yeah.
don't do that.
He's very
Like,
David-y in this
yes.
instance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just try it. It'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen? I'm going to tell you what's the worst that could happen. We're going to see it in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, this was a cool moment though. I do like it when she's like, she's gonna do it, but she's looking at the thing and she's like, "Yeah, no, this is not.
Yeah.
We're gonna hold off on
Right.
this."
Rain's like, absolutely
yeah,
not.
I like that.
So I'm trying to think. They end up.
Well, they get the elevator fixed, right? And then
Yeah,
she
they
sends
get
Dora up.
Dora up.
She says, "Get to the ship and escape, or whatever. We'll get to you." Sends her with the Prometheus research, and then on the elevator as she's going up by herself, she takes one out and she injects herself.
No, this is what happens. Andy ends up being like knocked down and starts having like one of his seizures. And rather than leaving Andy behind, Rain's like, I was going to leave him behind this time. Like he is not, I'm not going to leave him behind now. So she sends Dora up, and then boyfriend, I did not expect the boyfriend to get got, but he does. And like gets I'm trying to think. He gets the Harry Dean Stanton treatment where the little alien mouth like cracks his skull open.
Yeah,
And it kills him that way.
yeah.
So Rain goes back down. She goes to reboot Andy, and in the process takes the old Rook chip out, and he goes back to being regular Andy. Do they? Oh, this
Well,
is the,
now
this,
there's
this
an
is the
anti-
This is the scene where we've got all of the xenomorphs are coming at them.
This is a really cool anti-gravity acid blood scene. So
Right.
So they've got the gun, and then she realizes, oh well, if we turn the gravity off, then the blood won't come at us,
Right.
and it will just float
Well,
around.
it won't even come at us. It won't hit the ground.
Right. It won't. So she's just mowing them
Just
down.
yes.
The Colonial Marines, whatever phaser pulse rifle is like, it has auto aim.
Yeah.
And they show you earlier. And so the xenomorphs are coming at him. She's just mowing them all down. And then the blood is like floating at them slowly.
It's a nice little video game thing.
Yeah.
Where you're
Yeah.
just kind of like
Yeah.
maneuvering out of the
It's
way
Crash
of the blood.
Bandicoot.
Kinda. Yeah.
Go right.
I was
So,
thinking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the NES game.
You're not wrong. That's a great reference. That's a fantastic reference.
That's funny.
So they get back to the elevator because of the gravity purge. Like all of it's going to turn on. Like they have to get out of the way, and of course it turns on, and all of the acid blood drops. And
They narrowly avoid it, but they get into the elevator
Yeah, yeah,
shaft.
yeah.
But gravity turns on, which means there's an elevator coming down.
right,
And so Andy's up there, and he actually catches it.
that was kind of cool.
But Rain falls when the gravity turns on. She can't get to him in time. But a xenomorph catches her,
Yeah.
like saves her.
And then so gravity turns back off, and of course
then-
Rain grabs the pulse rifle.
Andy grabs the pulse rifle.
Sorry, yeah, Andy grabs the pulse rifle and jumps down.
And then says one of the best lines
Of the second
of the
movie.
movie on Opposite Day.
Yeah, and it's a cool scene because he's just basically like
Oh, it's a great
stomping
scene.
on the xenomorph.
When I
shooting-
get this
shooting
movie, I'm
them in
going to
the
edit
face.
that line out, I
Yeah.
think, and it'll just be perfect.
And if,
Stay away from her, you bitch.
Yeah,
It's
it
like,
was-
oh God, I died for a second in my seat, and I
I
had
was
to
like,
reboot.
you were so close.
I had to
You were
reboot.
so
I'm
close.
like, why did you do that? Why? Who thought that was cool? Who? Who
yeah.
watched that and
All-
went, that was
You know,
awesome?
I mean, you could have even done the game over line. Like game over could have
Or,
worked
like the guy
there.
is so good in this movie, but like that delivery of the line,
Yeah.
I bet you could have used that line and said it better. I just don't know why that reading made it into the final cut.
I think he was trying to do it in a way that wasn't just
he was a not cool guy.
like he was trying to undersell it, like
Yeah.
because it's so. I
Mm-hmm.
think he thought it was dumb, and instead of trying to like really steer into it the way the line was in the original,
You know what happens when lightning hits a toad?
the same thing as everything else.
yeah,
The same thing as everything else.
I think he was trying to undersell it because it was kind of he knew it was cringe.
But you know what?
Sure,
I
sure.
do, if you look at it from the fact that Andy also, the non-Wayland takeover Andy, he is like kind of stuttering and kind of, I
Yeah.
guess the way he delivers it is kind of, stay away from her, you bitch. Like he was trying to not just understate it, but like in his stammering kind of way. But
I think
it
he was
just-
trying. I think the character was probably trying to be funny
yeah.
because that's what he does. Like he's constantly using humor as like, but it's bad.
was he an alien too in the future? How does he know that line? Why did he say that?
it's so dumb.
It's so dumb.
Yeah. David, did you like that line or did you think it was dumb?
I
Well,
mean,
if he
the-
liked
the
that line, he's
the
not gonna
callbacks
admit
are
it
just-
now.
They're so unnecessary. That's really
Yeah.
what it comes down to.
I think the callbacks are fine, right? Like I think
When they don't wink at the camera,
seeing the
right?
Nostromo destruction is fine. Seeing the Ash android Rook is fine for the most part, except for the face. But that line itself, where I was like, God damn it! Like
I know.
you almost had
You were
it.
so close.
Yeah, you were so close.
So they get back up to the.
They get back up to the ship and they think they're okay, and they put the Dora into stasis. And just as they put
They got less people now, so the cryo will
there's
last
plenty
longer.
of
I guess,
stuff.
right?
There's plenty of stuff. Just as Rain is about to climb in her pod, Dora's pod goes off.
Pops open. It says.
Well, no,
there's
like
something
it's
instability or
there's-
whatever.
and
Yeah.
she pulls it. She pulls the pod out, and of course now Dora is pregnant and like pregnant.
Yeah.
And in typical, this is the Fede Alvarez that I've been waiting for.
Yes. Put the sicko guy outside
That's
the
ex-
window.
yeah, that's exactly right.
I was just like, what? I go, wow, they're doing it.
Well, I remember thinking, what are they gonna do? What is this gonna be? Because I have no idea.
Yeah.
And she gives birth to this pod, which is like
It's like an acid
pod.
Yeah.
And we see the face of a baby. And this has happened twice in Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, boy.
When Malik Pfeiffer, is that who that is?
Mekhi
Mekhi
Pfeiffer.
Pfeiffer.
There's no Mekhi Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of that line from that song.
Yeah.
From Eminem.
Yeah. And his girlfriend gets bit, right? And she's pregnant. and she gives birth to a zombie baby, and they shoot a zombie baby in the face. This was that's one of the few times I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And in this scene, I was like, Jesus Christ, I cannot believe what's happening.
So, okay, I need to hear your guys' interpretations. And David's already done a show and he's probably looked into this or thought about it more. But my thought was that, didn't that baby look like an engineer?
It absolutely was an engineer.
Because
It was
if
an engineer,
Prometheus is in the
engineered
beginning,
xenomorph hybrid.
and the engineers are the ones that their DNA created this perfect being, the xenomorph, and now we're researching the Prometheus stuff, which would come from engineers, which would come from xenomorphs, and we're combining it with a human. You would be making an engineer hybrid, right?
It's exactly the face of that creature
Looked like an engineer.
Was an engineer.
That's what I thought. And so,
Yep.
yeah, I was talking to Matt Reedy, and he didn't get that at all from it. And he goes, "Why did they make it look like what did he say? He said it looked like a blah blah blah, whatever it was." And I go, "I think it's supposed to look like an engineer because from Prometheus." And he goes, "Oh my God, if they did that,
They
because
did.
he hates Prometheus." And I'm like, "I'm pretty sure that's what they did."
That's exactly what they did.
Okay, I didn't
it's
look. I
100% that, and it's
Okay.
funny actually. There's an interview with Fede Alvarez, and he was saying he was so focused on making that connection to the engineers that he actually missed the thought that he was kind of doing the end of Resurrection over again.
Oh, he absolutely
Oh.
is.
See, I
He
haven't
didn't
Absolutely
seen
realize
that.
it. He didn't realize it until the premiere. His son mentions it to him. Hey, this is just like the end of Resurrection. He was like, "Oh wow, yeah, you're right. I didn't even realize that."
The end of
Okay.
Resurrection is there's a human alien hybrid
Yeah,
that has like human features and has like a connection to Ripley.
I remember
Yeah.
that now, and I had totally forgotten. I haven't watched that since VHS. Honestly,
It
that one.
is one of the most like that movie's trash.
Yeah.
But like the end of that movie when it's getting sucked out of an air hole and has like a scream of a baby,
Oh.
and you're like, what? What? Why?
Well, I gotta tell you, I love Prometheus. Like I mentioned before, I love that movie, and so I thought the tie-in was super cool, and it made perfect
Yeah.
sense. If the engineers created the xenomorphs, and they're doing the research on the xenomorphs, and the engineers were kind of human-like, and you combine the two things, it's like you're gonna get.
Yep.
yeah, the DNA is in there.
Well, you
Yeah.
got like a human engineer xenomorph hybrid.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So I thought it was a great callback to tie everything together, and man, was that a creepy-looking mofo.
it was
that
not
thing.
fun to look
That
at.
thing was bizarre, and again, just
Man,
full.
as soon as she's whelping that thing out, I'm just like,
Yep.
what do you think about pro-life now?
Bet
Where's
you're
your-
for it, aren't you?
Yeah, this is where you're at.
But it's like it's also I think of Cronenberg's The Fly. Like
Yeah.
when she, I guess it's The Fly or The Fly 2, when she gives birth to like that larva.
They
I think that's
Cronenberg direct the Fly too.
2.
Is it?
Yeah, I think
Because that is Gina Davis, so I don't think they would have got. Did they get her back for the 2?
no, I don't think I don't think there's a birth in the first one, is there? That the birth was it was like the opening scene of the second one.
Maybe, but either way,
The Fly 2 is directed by Chris Wallace.
yeah, Cronenberg directed the first one.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe it's a nightmare sequence.
Oh, that could be. Maybe there is a nightmare
Yeah,
sequence. Yeah.
She
I think
does give
now
birth
that you
to
say
a-
that, I
there
think
is-
you're right.
The
yeah.
son is in the second movie, and that
Yeah.
movie's even crazier.
You know who produced that movie?
Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That which I think is just even. Didn't he produce The Elephant Man?
Yeah. Also, yeah,
Yeah.
and he like buried his name because he didn't want
Smart,
to think it was gonna
yeah.
be funny.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not funny.
Yeah.
Neither one of those movies are funny
No.
at all.
We like to give Matt Reedy little
Yeah, for
plugs.
sure.
You know. I didn't care much for the baby hybrid at the end. It reminded me of the one in Alien Resurrection,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess he wanted to do something different than the same xenomorph all the time. Also, it looked like Voldemort. That's what it was. And I said, I think it was supposed to look like one of the engineers, right? It all came back full circle. I took this as his way of paying homage to Prometheus. He said, "Oh yuck! I hope that wasn't the intent."
That absolutely was the
Which-
intent.
but
100%.
He hates Prometheus, and so I'm like, no, that's cool. They tied it in.
Yeah.
So anyway, now this crazy
Now-
thing is chasing her down.
Well, now we're
hunting
kind
her.
of doing the end of Alien. Like that's kind of what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Where she's got to outsmart this thing. She ends up getting it knocked. She knocks it out of the spaceship because there's like a cargo container.
Oh yeah, the thing is like the computer's like, oh, the cargo was damaged, dislodge, or
Yeah.
release the cargo drop.
and she's having a it is the ending of Alien.
Doesn't she kick over its acid pod or something?
Yeah,
right?
so she unhooks the cargo container and the xenomorph thing. I don't even know what they call it. Do they have a name for it?
Wikipedia says the human xenomorph hybrid.
Perfect. Okay. The humorph.
hybrid.
The humorph.
The humorph.
Trademark that. Thank you very much.
No, I don't think that's worth it, Joe.
Damn it. So she ends up winning. Like she knocks it. The thing, the space station
It
explodes.
kills Kay though, who's Dora, right?
Yes. Well, that was a weird scene.
Well,
I
did
wasn't
you
Did
sure.
you think it was going to breastfeed?
I
When
didn't
she
know.
reaches down and has
Oh,
the goo on her
yes,
chest,
yes,
and then the baby is like going up to her chest.
I was
I'm
like,
pretty
they're
sure
gonna
I think-
grapes of wrath it.
I think she was breastfeeding. I think that baby
that it was breast. Yeah, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I thought they were going to show it. I really did. When
And
he
here's
went
the-
full sicko mode, I'm like,
with Fede Alvarez at this point. You're like, maybe
No.
what turkey baster,
Right.
Like it's possible. I don't even
Could
know.
happen.
You know. So, and that's kind of how this one ends. Is the
She
Andy
ejects it.
Andy and Rain kind of kill the xenomorph and float off into wherever they're going to go, and that's how this ends.
yeah.
I like, given Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, AVP, like all of these Alien other movies, like it is hard to follow up two of the greatest like sci-fi
Isn't there an
action.
Ash versus Alien versus Predator comic?
No, there is Superman and Batman versus Alien
But I
versus
thought
Predator.
isn't there an Ash versus maybe it's Ash versus Freddy versus
There is Ash versus Freddy versus Jason,
Okay.
which was going to be a thing. Like
Yeah.
that was going to be a movie. Jason was going to be a Deadite,
okay.
and that's what
Gotcha.
that's what that was going to be. The Book of the Dead is in Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like it's insanely hard. You've got Alien, which is a sci-fi horror flick that is one of the best ever. Then you've got Aliens, which is a completely different movie. That's one of the greatest sci-fi action movies of all time.
Yeah. Have that dollar sign on the end.
Yeah, that's true. It is funny at the Draft House.
Man,
They did show commercials for Aliens toys.
oh, so they showed something.
They did, well, when I go, they
That's
show
fun.
things. When I go, they show
That's
things.
fun.
But it is we've talked about this before of like toy tie-ins to like these hard R.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, right. And I
Kids
was
toys
like,
out of every
there's a
rated
Ripley
R,
and there's a Hicks
Predator,
and there's-
Terminator,
right.
whatever.
And
yeah.
I was like, of course, I forgot about the. But then they showed a commercial for a Xenomorph action figure that was based on the first one. Does that ring a bell? Do you remember that at all?
I remember seeing action figures like that, but like not when the movie was out. But
Yeah, this was like the
more like
It was like a
for
thing.
collectors years later.
Oh no, this was like a commercial set in the '70s, like it was made in the '70s.
Okay.
That's fun.
That was like a giant xenomorph, and I was
I
like,
bet
even
kids
back
did
then
wanna
they
play
were
with
like,
that, yeah.
that's awesome.
The perfect organism.
That's right.
Yeah.
And now you can take it home. It's the perfect toy. Yeah, I think this is like my third favorite.
I think this movie's really fun. I think it does play the greatest hits, but I think the effects are really good. The score is really good. The tension, the actors. I mean, this movie was a really fun time. I wish it had a little more to say. That's why I wish Ridley Scott could finish his trilogy. Like all the
Wasn't
alien.
Neil Blomkamp going to do something?
He was going to do an alien movie. But, Ridley Scott with each of these movies has a lot to say about humanity, and it's just really interesting. And I think this movie, instead of trying to say something new, again, played the greatest hits, and it was
Yeah.
really fun to watch. But I just wish there was a little more to it. And hopefully maybe he'll get to
I
finish
don't
that
think so.
someday. But
I don't think. I mean, not now. I don't know.
I don't know. David, what are your final thoughts on this one?
I echo a lot of what you just said there, Kevin. Especially the score is so damn good, and it's one of my favorite scores of the year.
Who was
But,
that, Brian? What's the composer's name?
Benjamin Wallfish.
Benjamin, yeah.
Incredible job here. But
You did.
I think we obviously have been complaining about a few of these like callback lines and stuff like that, and I feel like people are so latched on to those as if this movie is just wall to wall nothing but that.
I agree.
yeah.
I'm
crazy
right
to
there
me.
with you.
It's crazy. There's so much fun to be had here.
Yeah.
There's great action, incredible set pieces. It looks beautiful.
Incredible
To
looking.
say that it's nothing but those things, I just think is just ignoring it on purpose.
Yeah, I agree. I think people are being a little harsh that are trying to act like, oh, this movie's so better. I mean, if you don't enjoy it, that's one thing. But there is a lot of really, great set design, great stuff to look
I
at.
thought the first 30 minutes were kind of a snooze. But
the first 30 minutes of Alien is super slow.
But once they
Got going.
got to
Yeah.
the ship and things started going wrong, I was like, this is fun.
It
Like,
never
it's-
let
fun.
go. It just
Yeah.
keeps going. And
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you, David.
I think the the cringiest is the line.
Yeah.
It
you
is.
know, I'm okay with
Right.
seeing the wreckage of the Nostromo. I'm okay with seeing Ash.
Well, because the rest of it wasn't really fan service. It's like you're a sequel.
Yeah.
An interquel is what they're calling this.
Oh,
A sequel that takes place.
you know,
with,
Disney's like, that's ours. Thank you.
I think
I mean-
also an in-between quel.
Yeah, because like Rogue One is an interquel.
That's true.
right?
Yeah.
That's true. It is.
So-
That's so good. I'm gonna
Yeah.
watch that.
But then there's intraquels,
What's that?
which is a sequel that takes place within the timeline of a movie.
Oh.
So like,
Oh, I'm
I
still
can only
waiting
think-
for a Cloverfield one of those. They're
Yeah,
supposed to show it from a different point of view.
yeah, like the only thing I can think of is like
Timon
like
and Pumbaa and
that-
Lion King
yeah,
1.5.
Lion King 1.5, Bambi 2,
Sure.
uh,
Thumper's
Bambi
Revenge.
2 Electric Boogaloo.
yeah,
Oh, I like. That was pretty good.
The Legend of Thumper's Gold.
Yeah, Legend of Thumper's Gold.
but yeah, so but yeah, like I don't consider that other stuff fan service because it's like, well, yes, we're making a Star Wars movie, we're going to see the Millennium Falcon or
Right,
whatever, right?
right,
Like
right.
that's not fan service.
You know
but
what? Who's 20th Century Studios owned by?
Exactly.
I think if you get all the negative stuff is people that no matter what will never give anything a chance that's owned by Disney.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all of it.
Yep.
There's people out there, but you got to realize you have to fight through so much noise now because the loudest people online are the people that have these agendas and will fight and trash everything without ever seeing it, without ever giving it a chance. And so I think you also have to comb through a lot of the crap, sift through a lot of the crap to get to real reviews. And if you didn't like the movie, again, no big deal. But people that are being that nitpicky about it
Sure.
are trying to just down every single thing about the movie.
And I think that this franchise as a whole is foolish.
This is one of the best sequels.
Yeah,
in the
there's
Alien
like
series.
there's so,
Where do you put it, David? I didn't see your ranking on this one. Did I?
So I straight up say there are no bad Alien movies. I know
Okay.
everybody hates Alien 3 and Resurrection. There's no bad Alien movies as far as I'm concerned. This is second from the bottom for me. I really liked it, but I really like
but
all of them.
You like
So,
an AVP movie better than this?
I don't count those. I do not count those. I
Oh,
only
okay.
count the straight up Alien ones.
Well,
So,
that makes it a little different then.
So
yeah.
wait, what's on-
Resurrection is on the bottom. I mean, how could it not be? You know?
No, you're not wrong.
Okay. So yeah, but if there's no
I'm-
bad ones, then
Yeah.
that kind of makes sense.
Wow.
Hey,
I
I have
think-
Covenant is number one, so I'm
But he's-
insane.
yeah.
So
I
That's
don't
why-
even know how. Like,
That's great. I love having people.
I'm
on
starting
the-
to wonder if this episode will ever air.
yeah.
but I mean, like, there's the games which has their own mythologies. There's the comics which has
Oh,
their
there's
own
so
stuff.
much,
There's
yeah.
so much. Like, it's a world that is.
It's like the
constantly-
extended universe.
It's
Kind
exactly
of,
what it is.
But and it was fun. This is if you like Alien, the original movies, this feels the closest, I think, even closer to the Prometheus stuff than Ridley Scott himself making sequels.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
This feels like Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me,
Yeah.
I think so. If you like Alien and the older stuff, this is the movie that's going to sprinkle in a little tie-ins, but this
Yeah.
is a straight up Alien sequel. You
And
know,
one of those sprinkles is like when somebody unscrews the lid of a salt shaker.
and it just all dumps in.
and it all dumps out
you're
at
like, oh,
once.
crap.
There's one moment like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But other than
you can
that-
just suffer through that.
Other than that,
So you just take the salt shaker when you're done, throw it over your shoulder, hit sea bass, and
Yeah.
just go on with your
Kick
day.
his ass.
Yeah.
Ass.
so anyway, I guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find them.
This is Joe. You can follow me on the Twitter at Joey Butts, BUTTS21, and on Letterboxd at the same.
This is Kevin. Follow me on Twitter at Kevin R. Brackett.
And David, where can they find you and your wares?
You can find Piecing It Together on all the podcast apps. Follow me on social media at PiecingPod. Check out our Alien Romulus live episode. And check out the Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces Facebook group.
Awesome. And this is Tom. You can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. So also don't forget our Patreon at patreon.com/Real Spoiler. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, O'Neill hacked Shepard's communication system.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, 'cause we always